Part 1. Introduction. The Israel-Palestine conflict, a protracted and deeply entrenched struggle, has captivated the world's attention for decades. It is a multifaceted geopolitical, historical, and humanitarian crisis with profound implications for the region and beyond. In this extensive analysis, we embark on a journey to explore the intricate dynamics of this conflict, with a specific emphasis on the West Bank and Gaza. Rooted in a complex history of competing nationalisms, territorial claims, and religious significance, the conflict has defied easy resolution. By focusing on the West Bank and Gaza, we delve into regions that have witnessed some of the most contentious and enduring struggles, offering a microcosm of the broader discord. The West Bank, with its disputed settlements and territorial disputes, and the Gaza Strip, subject to a prolonged blockade and complex governance, present distinctive challenges and opportunities for peace. This analysis aims to provide a holistic understanding of the historical context, current realities, international involvement, and potential solutions within these specific regions. We delve into the human toll, the displaced populations, and the critical role of non-state actors. By exploring the multifaceted dimensions of the conflict in the West Bank and Gaza, we endeavor to foster a more informed discourse and encourage constructive dialogue surrounding a resolution to this enduring crisis. Join us on this exploration as we attempt to untangle the intricate threads of the Israel-Palestine conflict, delving deep into its heart within the West Bank and Gaza. Part 2. Historical background. The Israel-Palestine conflict, unraveling centuries of history. The Israel-Palestine conflict, a source of ongoing tension, violence, and political strife, is a complex issue deeply rooted in history, religion, nationalism, and territorial disputes. To truly understand the conflict's dynamics, it's essential to delve into the historical background that has shaped the region for centuries. Ancient roots, biblical history and claims. The origins of the Israel-Palestine conflict can be traced back thousands of years to biblical times. Both Jews and Palestinians claim ancestral ties to the land, invoking a profound religious and historical connection. For Jews, the land of Israel is considered the promised land, where the biblical Israelites settled. Meanwhile, Palestinians point to their historical roots in the continuous presence of Arab communities in the region. Ottoman Empire and World War I, shifting sovereignty. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the region was part of the Ottoman Empire. However, as World War I unfolded, the Ottoman Empire weakened, and European powers, notably Britain and France, sought to redraw the map of the Middle East. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916, a secret pact between the British and French, aimed to divide the Middle East into spheres of influence. This division disregarded the aspirations of local populations, including both Jews and Arabs. Simultaneously, the Balfour Declaration of 1917, issued by the British government, expressed support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, further complicating the situation. Mandate period. British rule and rising tensions. Following World War I, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate to govern Palestine. During this period, tensions between Jews and Arabs escalated as Jewish immigration increased, driven by the desire for a Jewish homeland. Arabs in the region, concerned about the implications of increased Jewish immigration, protested and resisted British rule. The 1936-1939 Arab revolt in Palestine was a significant milestone during the mandate period. Arab Palestinians expressed their opposition to Jewish immigration and the idea of a Jewish state. This period marked the beginning of large-scale violence in the region. World War II and Holocaust. The impact on Jewish immigration. The horrors of the Holocaust during World War II had a profound impact on the Jewish population. Survivors sought refuge, many of them in British-administered Palestine. The humanitarian crisis and the moral imperative to provide a homeland for the survivors further intensified Jewish immigration. 1947 Unpartition Plan, Seeds of Conflict. The United Nations proposed a partition plan in 1947, recommending the division of Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with an international administration for Jerusalem. While the plan was accepted by Jewish leaders, it was rejected by Arab leaders who saw it as a violation of their rights and sovereignty. 1948 War of Independence, birth of Israel and Palestinian displacement. The rejection of the UN partition plan led to a full-scale conflict between Jewish and Arab forces. This conflict, known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War or War of Independence, resulted in the establishment of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948. The war also led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs, creating a refugee crisis that persists to this day. Post 1948, ceasefires, borders, and ongoing tensions. The 1948 war ended in a series of armistice agreements, but no formal peace treaties were signed. The borders of Israel were established, including the Green Line, which marked the boundary between Israel and the West Bank and Gaza Strip. 1967 Six-Day War, the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. In June 1967, the Six-Day War erupted, resulting in Israel's occupation of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem, among other territories. This event marked a significant turning point in the conflict and introduced a new dimension to the territorial disputes. Palestinian Liberation Movement and Intifadas. Throughout the 20th century, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, led by figures like Yasser Arafat, emerged as a prominent force advocating for Palestinian self-determination. The First Intifada, 1987-1993, and the Second Intifada, 2000-2005, were grassroots uprisings by Palestinians against Israeli occupation, resulting in further violence and tensions. Peace efforts, Oslo Accords and beyond. In the 1990s, there were significant peace efforts, culminating in the Oslo Accords in 1993. These agreements aimed to establish a framework for resolving the conflict and led to the creation of the Palestinian Authority. However, the peace process faced obstacles and breakdowns, preventing a final resolution. Settlements and land disputes. One of the ongoing challenges in the conflict is the construction of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. These settlements, considered illegal under international law, complicate efforts to delineate future borders and have been a source of contention between Israelis and Palestinians. The Gaza Strip, blockade and Hamas. The Gaza Strip, a densely populated area, has been subjected to an Israeli blockade since 2007, when Hamas, an Islamist Palestinian organization, took control of the territory. The blockade, intended to prevent the flow of weapons to Hamas, has had a severe impact on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Historical trauma and narratives. The historical trauma experienced by both Israelis and Palestinians has contributed to deeply entrenched narratives that make reconciliation and compromise challenging. Each side has its perspective on historical events, reinforcing the divide. International diplomacy and peace initiatives. Numerous international efforts, including the Camp David Accords, the Roadmap for Peace, and the Arab Peace Initiative, have been put forward to resolve the conflict. While these initiatives have at times made progress, they have not yet led to a comprehensive and lasting resolution. Conclusion. The weight of history. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a product of centuries of history, filled with shifting borders, changing sovereignties, and deeply held identities. The historical events outlined here provide a backdrop to the contemporary challenges in the region. Understanding this history is essential to grasp the nuances of the conflict and the difficulties in reaching a sustainable resolution. In the subsequent sections of this analysis, we will delve deeper into the current state of affairs, international involvement, and potential pathways to peace. Part 3. The West Bank. Certainly, let's delve deeper into the West Bank, a region with significant historical and contemporary importance in the Israel-Palestine conflict. The West Bank, an enclave of complexities. The West Bank is a territory in the Middle East, bordered by Israel to the west, Jordan to the east, and the Dead Sea to the east. It is a crucial focal point in the Israel-Palestine conflict, holding historical, political, and geographical significance. To understand the current state of affairs in the West Bank, it's essential to explore its history and its role in the ongoing dispute. Historical background. The West Bank was part of the British Mandate of Palestine until 1948. Following the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the region came under Jordanian control, while the Gaza Strip was administered by Egypt. This situation persisted until the 1967 Six-Day War when Israel occupied the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. Israeli settlements. One of the key issues in the West Bank is the presence and expansion of Israeli settlements. These settlements are Jewish communities built in the West Bank, often in contravention of international law. They have been a major source of tension, as they are viewed by Palestinians as an obstacle to the creation of a contiguous Palestinian state. The construction and expansion of these settlements continue to be a contentious issue. Palestinian territories. In the West Bank, there are areas with varying degrees of Palestinian self rule under the Palestinian Authority, a governing body established through the Oslo Accords. The territory is divided into three areas. 1. Area A under full Palestinian civil and security control. 2. Area B under Palestinian civil control and joint Israeli-Palestinian security control. 3. Area C under full Israeli control, where most Israeli settlements are located. This division has led to a fragmented and complex landscape. Security barrier, wall. Israel constructed a security barrier, often referred to as the West Bank Wall, or separation barrier, to prevent unauthorized movement of individuals between the West Bank and Israel. While Israel cites security concerns as the reason for its construction, Palestinians see it as an infringement on their territory, causing further division. Economic challenges. The West Bank faces economic challenges, including high unemployment and limited access to resources due to Israeli restrictions. The presence of the security barrier and checkpoints hinders the free movement of people and goods, impacting the Palestinian economy. East Jerusalem. East Jerusalem, which is part of the West Bank, holds particular significance. Israel annexed East Jerusalem after the Six-Day War, a move not recognized internationally. It is a deeply contentious issue as both Israelis and Palestinians consider Jerusalem their capital. Ongoing tensions. Tensions in the West Bank are ongoing. There have been frequent clashes between Palestinian residents and Israeli security forces, often tied to disputes over land, settlements, and access to holy sites. Protests, violence, and arrests are common occurrences. Peace prospects. The West Bank plays a central role in any discussions about a potential two-state solution, where Israelis and Palestinians coexist in two separate states. Resolving the status of East Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, and the security situation in the West Bank is essential to any lasting peace agreement. Conclusion. A complex piece of the puzzle. The West Bank remains a crucial piece of the Israel-Palestine conflict puzzle. Its complex history, presence of Israeli settlements, and ongoing disputes over land and resources make it a focal point in any efforts to resolve the conflict. Understanding the dynamics of the West Bank is essential in comprehending the larger challenges and intricacies of the Israel-Palestine conflict. In the next section, we will shift our focus to the Gaza Strip, another vital element in this multifaceted struggle. Part 4. Gaza Strip. Gaza Strip, the unresolved crisis. The Gaza Strip, a narrow coastal enclave bordering Israel, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea, is a focal point in the Israel-Palestine conflict. This densely populated territory has faced numerous challenges and is marked by a unique set of circumstances that contribute to its ongoing status as a crisis zone. Historical background. The Gaza Strip's history is deeply intertwined with the broader conflict. Following the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Egypt administered the Gaza Strip, while Israel controlled other territories. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel occupied the Gaza Strip along with the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Hamas and governance. One of the defining characteristics of Gaza is the rule of Hamas, an Islamist Palestinian organization. In 2006, Hamas won parliamentary elections in the Palestinian territories, leading to a split in governance with the West Bank, which is controlled by the Palestinian Authority, dominated by Fatah. In 2007, Hamas took full control of Gaza after a violent internal conflict. Blockade and isolation. Since 2007, the Gaza Strip has been under an Israeli and Egyptian blockade. This blockade is intended to prevent the flow of weapons to Hamas but has resulted in severe humanitarian consequences. It restricts the movement of goods, people, and services, affecting the livelihoods and well-being of Gaza's residents. Humanitarian crisis. The blockade has resulted in significant humanitarian challenges. Unemployment is high, and access to essential services, including clean water and healthcare, is limited. The blockade has also limited the reconstruction of infrastructure damaged during conflicts, particularly in the 2014 Israel-Gaza war. Frequent conflicts. Gaza has been the site of frequent conflicts between Palestinian armed groups, primarily Hamas, and Israel. These conflicts have resulted in significant casualties and destruction, exacerbating the already dire humanitarian situation. Efforts to achieve lasting ceasefires and stability have been elusive. Living conditions. The living conditions in Gaza are dire. Overcrowding, limited access to basic resources, and restrictions on travel have created a sense of confinement and isolation for its residents. Electricity shortages are common, and the healthcare system is overburdened. Water crisis. Gaza faces a severe water crisis, with a lack of access to clean and safe drinking water. Pollution and over-extraction of groundwater have made the situation critical, affecting public health and quality of life. Youth and unemployment. The Gaza Strip has a disproportionately young population, and youth unemployment rates are exceptionally high. Limited economic opportunities and movement restrictions contribute to a sense of despair and frustration among young people. Peace prospects. The situation in Gaza is closely linked to the broader Israel-Palestine conflict. Resolving the blockade, improving living conditions, and finding a sustainable political solution are central to any comprehensive peace efforts. International involvement. The international community, including the United Nations and various humanitarian organizations, is actively involved in providing aid and facilitating dialogue between parties in Gaza. However, political and security challenges continue to impede progress. Conclusion. A tragic reality. The Gaza Strip stands as a symbol of the protracted Israel-Palestine conflict. Its unique circumstances, including the blockade, governance by Hamas, and the recurring cycle of conflict, make it a deeply challenging and sensitive issue. Understanding the realities of life in Gaza is crucial for comprehending the complexities of the larger conflict and for seeking pathways to peace and stability. In the following section, we will explore the current state of the Israel-Palestine conflict, international involvement, and potential solutions. Part 5. Current state of affairs. 1. Ongoing tensions. Tensions between Israelis and Palestinians persist, with sporadic outbreaks of violence and clashes. Issues such as Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank, access to holy sites in Jerusalem, and the situation in Gaza continue to fuel unrest. 2. Political leadership. Israel was under the leadership of Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who succeeded Benjamin Netanyahu. The Palestinian Authority, led by President Mahmoud Abbas, maintained control in parts of the West Bank, while Hamas remained in power in the Gaza Strip. 3. Israeli settlements. The construction and expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank remained a contentious issue. These settlements are considered illegal under international law and are seen by Palestinians as an obstacle to a two-state solution. 4. Gaza Strip. The blockade of the Gaza Strip, primarily maintained by Israel and Egypt, continued to impact the lives of Gazans. The situation in Gaza remained dire, with limited access to resources, high unemployment, and frequent power shortages. 5. Diplomatic efforts. Diplomatic efforts to restart peace talks between Israelis and Palestinians faced significant challenges. The United States, under the administration of President Joe Biden, expressed a renewed commitment to a two-state solution and encouraged dialogue between the parties. 6. Gaza conflicts. Periodic flare-ups of violence occurred in the Gaza Strip. The most recent major conflict prior to December 2021 was the 11-day Israel-Gaza conflict in May 2021, which resulted in a ceasefire brokered by Egypt and other mediators. 7. International involvement. International organizations, including the United Nations, were actively involved in providing humanitarian assistance to Palestinians and facilitating peace negotiations. Various countries, especially neighboring states and the US, played roles in mediating and supporting peace efforts. Part 6. International involvement. 1. United Nations, UN. The UN has been actively involved in the Israel-Palestine conflict for decades. The UN General Assembly and Security Council have passed numerous resolutions addressing the conflict's various aspects. UN agencies, such as UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, provide humanitarian assistance to Palestinian refugees. 2. United States. The United States has traditionally played a significant role in mediating peace efforts. It has supported Israel as its close ally while also advocating for a two-state solution. The US has occasionally led peace initiatives and hosted negotiations, with varying degrees of success. 3. European Union (EU). The EU has been actively engaged in diplomatic efforts and has provided humanitarian assistance to Palestinians. It supports a two-state solution and has expressed concerns about Israeli settlements in the West Bank. 4. Russia. Russia has occasionally been involved in peace efforts and has participated in international initiatives. Russia has maintained diplomatic relations with both Israeli and Palestinian authorities. 5. Regional actors. Egypt and Jordan have played roles in regional stability and in mediating ceasefire agreements. Gulf Arab states, such as the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, have developed diplomatic relations with Israel, potentially affecting regional dynamics. 6. Quartet on the Middle East. The quartet consists of the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and Russia. It was established to promote peace in the Middle East. The quartet has periodically issued statements and recommendations on the Israel-Palestine conflict. 7. Humanitarian organizations. Organizations like the International Committee of the Red Cross, and Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, provide humanitarian aid in the region. Non-governmental organizations, NGOs, also play significant roles in delivering aid and advocating for the rights of Palestinians. 8. Bilateral relations. Individual countries, such as Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey, maintain relations with both Israeli and Palestinian authorities. Various countries have embassies in Israel and the Palestinian territories. International involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict is multifaceted, reflecting the complexity and sensitivity of the issue. These efforts aim to mediate conflicts, provide humanitarian aid, support peace negotiations, and advocate for a two-state solution. The effectiveness of international involvement varies over time, and the conflict remains a deeply entrenched and challenging issue. Part 7. Humanitarian consequences. 1. Displacement and refugees. The conflict has resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. Many live in refugee camps, both in the Palestinian territories and neighboring countries. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, provides essential services to Palestinian refugees. 2. Access to basic services. The conflict has hindered access to essential services like healthcare, education, and clean water. In Gaza, the healthcare system is strained due to limited resources and restrictions on the movement of medical supplies. 3. Economic hardship. High unemployment rates, particularly in Gaza and the West Bank, have led to economic hardship. Movement restrictions and the blockade in Gaza have severely impacted economic opportunities and access to markets. 4. Food insecurity. Food insecurity is a persistent problem, particularly in Gaza. The reliance on humanitarian aid for food assistance is significant. The conflict has disrupted agricultural activities and trade, affecting food production and distribution. 5. Psychological impact. Ongoing violence, trauma, and the loss of loved ones have led to widespread psychological distress among both Palestinians and Israelis. Mental health services are often inadequate to address the needs of affected individuals. 6. Infrastructure damage. Repeated conflicts have caused extensive damage to infrastructure, including homes, schools, hospitals, and power facilities. Rebuilding and repairing this infrastructure is often impeded by restrictions on the entry of construction materials. 7. Water and sanitation issues. Access to clean water and sanitation services is a significant challenge, particularly in Gaza. Water sources are often contaminated. Pollution and over-extraction of groundwater exacerbate water quality problems. 8. Human rights concerns. Human rights abuses, such as restrictions on movement, arbitrary detentions, and allegations of excessive use of force, are ongoing concerns. These issues have been documented and criticized by various international organizations. 9. Child welfare. Children are particularly vulnerable in the conflict. They may experience trauma, disrupted education, and a lack of access to healthcare and social services. Efforts to address the needs of children in the conflict zone are ongoing. 10. Long-term impact. The cumulative impact of the conflict over decades has created generational challenges, particularly for Palestinian refugees who have grown up in camps. The cycle of violence and instability has disrupted normal social and economic development. These humanitarian consequences underscore the urgency of finding a peaceful and sustainable resolution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. International organizations and humanitarian agencies continue to provide assistance, but the persistent political and security challenges in the region make long-term solutions crucial to improving the lives of those affected by the conflict. Part 8. Potential solutions. 1. Two-state solution. A two-state solution envisions the establishment of an independent, sovereign state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel. This approach aims to provide both Israelis and Palestinians the right to self-determination. Key issues to address include defining the borders, resolving the status of Jerusalem, and addressing the refugee question. Negotiations between the parties are crucial. 2. One-state solution. The one-state solution proposes the creation of a single, democratic state that includes both Israelis and Palestinians. In this scenario, all residents would have equal rights and citizenship. Challenges include reconciling the deeply held national and religious identities of both groups and addressing issues like power sharing and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. 3. Confederal solution. A confederal solution would establish two separate states, Israel and Palestine, with a shared governing body that addresses common interests, such as security and economic cooperation. This approach attempts to strike a balance between two-state and one-state solutions, but implementation would be highly complex. 4. Regional Peace Initiative. A comprehensive peace initiative involving neighboring countries, such as Egypt and Jordan, and other regional players could help provide security guarantees, economic cooperation, and normalization of relations between Israel and the broader Arab world. The Arab Peace Initiative, which offers recognition of Israel in exchange for Israeli withdrawal from occupied territories, is an example of this approach. 5. International mediation. International organizations and countries, such as the United States, the United Nations, the European Union, and Russia, the Quartet, can play a role in mediating peace talks between Israelis and Palestinians. These efforts can provide a neutral platform for negotiations and help bridge gaps between the parties. 6. Grassroots initiatives. People to people initiatives and track 2 diplomacy can complement formal negotiations. Civil society organizations, activists, and individuals from both sides can promote dialogue, understanding, and cooperation. These initiatives aim to build trust and bridge divides at the community level. 7. Economic development and regional integration. Economic development and regional integration efforts can address issues related to unemployment, poverty, and access to resources, contributing to stability and peace. Regional economic cooperation can create incentives for peace and prosperity. 8. Confidence building measures. Confidence building measures can include steps to reduce violence, improve security, and build trust between the parties. Ceasefires, prisoner exchanges, and efforts to reduce incitement can help pave the way for negotiations. It's important to note that the Israel-Palestine conflict is deeply entrenched and sensitive, and any solution will require the willingness of both parties to engage in meaningful negotiations. Achieving a sustainable resolution is a long and challenging process that may require concessions and compromises from all sides. International support, diplomacy, and grassroots efforts play crucial roles in advancing the peace process. The specific contours of a final resolution will likely evolve over time, reflecting the changing dynamics in the region and the aspirations of Israelis and Palestinians. Part 9. Conclusion. In conclusion, the Israel-Palestine conflict is a deeply rooted and multifaceted issue that has persisted for generations, with profound consequences for the people living in the region. Its complexities span historical, political, religious, and humanitarian dimensions, making it one of the most enduring and sensitive conflicts in the world. The historical background of the conflict traces its origins to ancient times and is marked by the conflicting claims of Israelis and Palestinians to the same land. The conflict has experienced significant developments, including the creation of Israel in 1948, the 1967 Six-Day War, and the subsequent occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The presence of Israeli settlements, the blockade of Gaza, and the contested status of Jerusalem are among the ongoing issues that fuel tensions. Humanitarian consequences have been severe, impacting both Israelis and Palestinians. Displacement, limited access to basic services, economic hardship, and psychological trauma are just a few of the many challenges that the conflict has created. The long term impact is particularly significant, with generational effects on the lives of those who have grown up in the midst of the conflict. International involvement has played a vital role in mediating conflicts, providing humanitarian aid, and advocating for peace. Various proposals for a solution have been put forward, including the two-state solution, one-state solution, and regional peace initiatives, each with its own challenges and complexities. While the path to a peaceful resolution is fraught with obstacles, it remains an imperative for the international community to continue working toward a just and lasting solution. Understanding the historical context, humanitarian consequences, and potential pathways to peace is essential in fostering empathy, dialogue, and informed action to address this enduring conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict, with its historical burdens and contemporary challenges, calls for the collective commitment of individuals, organizations, and nations to seek a future where Israelis and Palestinians can coexist in peace, security, and prosperity. It is a challenging journey, but one that holds the promise of a brighter and more stable future for all involved.